The novel is about the relationship between the college student Bud Corliss and the three sisters Dorothy, Ellen, and Marion Kingship. All of them are daughters of the rich man Leo Kingship, who is owner of a big company which produces copper. The novel is told in three parts. The first part is about the relationship between Bud and Dorothy, called Dory, and this part is told from the point of view of Bud himself. The second part, however, is from the point of view of Ellen, and the third part is told from the point of view of Bud's third victim, Marion. Let's start with the first part. The novel starts at the point where Dory tells Bud that she's pregnant of him. He's having a relationship with her and wants to marry her because of her wealth. But he also knows that if Dory's father discovers about them having a baby, then Leo Kingship will get very angry and he won't leave money for Dory, and also he won't leave money for Bud at all. So Bud is absolutely not happy when he hears about the baby, and he convinces Dory that abortion is the best way to get rid of this problem. So he gives her a pill which has to kill the baby. However, the pill doesn't work at all, so Bud tries another way he tries another way, and he thinks that Dorothy has to die. He gives her another pill, which is not only going to kill the baby, but also Dory herself. But Dory by now has decided she wants to keep the baby, and she throws the pill away. And at the same time, Bud sends a suicide note, which is written by Dorothy unintentionally. He sends it from Dorothy to her sister Ellen. But when he finds out that Dory is still alive, which means that she didn't take the pill, he gets very angry, and he has to make another plan. He tells Dory that he wants to marry her, and he brings her to the municipal building for their marriage license. But Del he kills her by pushing her from the 14th floor. He gets away with it because everybody thinks it was a suicide. A year after Dory's death, her sister Ellen goes to the Blue River because she thinks that her sister is murdered. She writes a letter to her boyfriend, Bud Corliss, in which she tells him why she went to the Blue River. She also tells him exactly why she can't believe that her sister committed suicide. The fact that she was wearing something old, something new, something borrowed, and something blue proves that she was going to get married. Ellen also finds out about two blonde students of Dory's English class, one named Gordon Grant and another named Dwight Powell. Ellen thinks that these are the ones who killed her sister. So first she gets to meet Gordon. Gordon tells her that he did not kill Dorothy, and that he doesn't have anything to do with her death. She believes him, and he even wants to help Ellen. The next day, Ellen meets Dwight Powell in a coffee shop. Ellen pretends to be Evelyn Kittredge, and they talk about Dwight's life. Dwight tells her that Dorothy was his ex-girlfriend, and that he really did love her, and that he really didn't kill her also. And he tells her that Dory has had another boyfriend after breaking up with him. So they get into Dwight's flat to find out the name of Dory's boyfriend. But there they both get shot by Ellen's boyfriend Burton Corliss. And it's indeed the same person who killed Dory a year before. 4 months later, Bud moves to New York. There he tries to meet the third sister, Marion, and he tries to have a relationship with her because he still wants to become a rich person. Bud knows a lot about Marion because her sister, Dory, and Ellen had told him a lot about her. So he makes notes about Marion, and he makes sure that Marion falls in love with him. Bud and Marion plan to get married, but Gordon Gant, who was a good friend of Ellen, comes to visit Leo Kingship. Gordon knows what Bud has done to the sister, and it's now up to him to avoid Marion getting married to the killer of her sisters. However, convincing Leo and Marion, who is madly in love, seems to be very hard. Will Gordon be able to stop the marriage, or is Marion going to be the third victim? Now I'm going to tell something about the main characters of the book. First of all, Dorothy. Dorothy, called Dory, is a very nice and quiet girl, but she's also very insecure and very naive, because she's not aware of what's going on around her. She believes that Bud loves her while he is only interested in her money. She gets murdered by Bud. Ellen. Ellen is Dory's sister, and she's not really like Dory. She seems to be a girl who is seeking for adventures, because she decides to find out who killed her sister. But Ellen is also naive, and she gets fooled by Bud, who tells her that he loves her. But later he kills her as well. Marion. The third sister, who is very intellectual and seems to be the most mature and the wisest of the sisters, is Marion. She enjoys going to museums and exhibitions. But also Ellen is fooled by Bud, and that's why I would say that all three sisters are naive and easily fooled. Bud is a young, smart, and very handsome boy, and he's the killer in this novel. He turns out to be a creep. He wants to become rich by marrying one of the three daughters of the wealthy Leo kingship. At the end of the book, he also does something that surprised the reader. Dwight Powell and Gordon Gant are both students of Dory's English class. Dwight is also Dory's ex-boyfriend, and Gordon Gant is Ellen's friend who wants to prove that Bud is the one who killed the sisters. Finally, something about Leo kingship. Leo kingship is the father of the three girls, and he's very strict, and he does not have a good relationship with his daughters. The writer of the book is Ira Levin. He's the American author of fiction thriller novels, and he's also a dramatist and songwriter. He was born in 1929 in New York City. He attended Drake University, and he wrote plays for television. He wrote his first novel, A Kiss Before Dying, when he was only 22 years old. The book won the Edgar Allan Poe Award, which made him very famous. Ira Levin's best novel is probably Rosemary's Baby, which was made into a film just like his other novels.
Title. The writer chose the title A Kiss Before Dying for this page-turner with reason. It indicates an act of love followed by death. And this is exactly what the main character has planned for the woman he's going to meet. First, he wins them over with nice words and looks, and then he murders them. A Kiss Before Dying is a fitting title for this 50s murder mystery thriller. Time setting. Written in 1953, the story mainly takes place from 1949 till December 1951, but also includes flashbacks involving World War II. The writing style and description of characters matches the 50s view of man and woman, e.g. marriage is a requirement for love and women are more helpless than men. The appliances and technology is also well fitting for the age. The book is chronologically consistent, but it helps that the book was written not many years after the story presumably took place. The time difference between the story and the time the book was written was at most approximately 4 years, which is not that much of a time gap for technology and social mindset to change. Writing style. The writing style includes longer sentences, often stretching 3 or more lines in the paperback version. Word usage is not remarkably different from today, some exceptions here and there when it comes to clothing descriptions and the like. Overall, the writing is clear and fast-paced, and with a page count of around 240 pages depending on the version, the book can be read very quickly. Adaptations. Since its publishing date in June 1953, the book has been made into multiple different versions. The first adaptation was in 1956, when it was transformed into a Hollywood movie. The film followed the story from the book closely, except from leaving the third sister, Marion, out of the movie. The second adaptation was made in 1991, where the book was made into a movie by James Durden. This movie only loosely followed the book plot. The third adaptation into a movie can be seen in a Bollywood film called Bazigar, which is heavily inspired by the second movie from James Durden instead of the original book. Clues. Because of the mystery element of the book, the reader is constantly trying to figure out who's the murderer of the first sister. At the start it is clear that the young man with blonde hair is capable of murder, but when the story switches point of view, we are introduced to multiple young attractive boys with blonde hair who all could have committed the murder. Because of this, actions by these characters can be seen as clues as to finding out who the real killer was and who is innocent. The first of many clues was an action by the lover of the first sister, Dorothy. Depending on the edition, it can be found at the bottom of page 38 of the book. In this bit, Dorothy and her boyfriend are sitting in a small restaurant near their university discussing where they are going to live after marriage. They're thinking about staying in a trailer, but for this they need to fill in an application form. During discussion, the writer mentions an action by the young man that at first glance seems trivial. He writes, he, Dorothy's boyfriend, took a paper napkin and began tearing careful bits from its folded edges. Normally, this insignificant action would signal boredom at most, but because this is a solve the mystery book, this insignificant detail may mean a great deal later on in the story. As we continue down the storyline, we read about Dorothy getting murdered and how the second sister, Ellen, goes on an investigation to find the murderer of her sister, together with the help from Powell. Ellen and Powell are situated in a small restaurant where they are discussing about Dorothy's killer, when they are getting ready to leave. Ellen is trying to put on her coat, but presumably accidentally slapped the person in the booth next to them. The writer describes this short scene as follows. Ellen's empty coat sleeve slapped over the top of the boot partition as her hand groped for it. "Excuse me," she said, glancing back over her shoulder, and then she saw that the next boot had been vacated. There were a cocktail glass and a dollar bill on the table, and a paper napkin which had been carefully torn into a delicate lacework web. What we see here is clear evidence that the boyfriend of the first sister, Dorothy, has been following Ellen and knows what her plans are. For finding out who does what and knows what, the reader needs a great attention for little details like these. This makes the book interestingly more difficult and enjoyable because of all the possible little hidden clues. Song. The book also includes the lyrics to an old song, which, when carefully read, contains some hints as to the plans and themes of the book. The name of the song is On Top of Old Smoky, and recorded by the Weavers, it gained popularity in the pop music charts in 1951. The book only covers the first half of the song, blending out the last part, maybe because the second half does not coincide with the story of A Kiss Before Dying. In that perspective, we can see a main part of the plot of the book in the lyrics to this song, which, in the book, are as follows. On top of Old Smoky, all covered with snow, I lost my true loved one, for courting too slow. Now court is a pleasure, but parting's a grief, and a false-headed lover is worse than a thief. A thief he will rob you and take what you have, but a false-headed lover will lead you to the grave. The grave will decay you and turn you to dust. Not one man in 100 a poor girl can trust. Of special notice is that the writer changed only little of the original lyrics, with guess as to conform more to the story. Where the original song had not one girl in 100 a poor boy can trust, the book version of the song changes the sex of the persons in the song to better reflect the murderer and the three sisters to not one man in 100 a poor girl can trust. Especially important are the lines 8 to 12 in the song, which are and a false-headed lover is worse than a thief he will rob you and take what you have, but a false-headed lover will lead you to the grave. Here we essentially see the plot of the whole book. The boyfriend of the three girls is a false-headed lover. He doesn't really love any of the sisters, but is only after them for their money. This makes him the false-headed lover in the song. When the song continues and sings about how a false-headed lover is worse than a thief, because a thief will only rob you of your stuff, a false-headed lover will rob you of your life, as implied in lines 11 and 12, but a false-headed lover will lead you to the grave. These are just a tiny pick out of the big pile of little clues and references that show how well the book is written. If you ever were to come across A Kiss Before Dying, be sure to pick it up and search for the clues like a true detective.